Ooh, baby, what'd you guys think of that? That was my new intro animation. Pretty sweet, am I right? Yeah, we're moving up in the world, folks. Alright, today I have a couple knives that I wanted to bring to your guys' attention, if they weren't already. And there is a common theme amongst all these knives. They are all, I would call them small knives. They're all pretty slim, pretty compact. Um, Thin blades, very slicey blades, pointy. These are all, package destroyers. And none of them are very hard use knives. They're small knives. You're gonna do things with them that you would use a small knife for. Detail cutting work, things like that. So I have three knives here, and then I have two. I have two that are in the same category, but they're a little more expensive. These first three are under $30. So very affordable and very good. I've carried all of these for the past couple weeks. They've all had a chance to be in my pocket, and so I feel like I have enough knowledge on them and information to recommend them and tell you all about them. So first, let's check out the Kershaw Atmos. Now this is an older design. Actually, some of these are older designs, but you can still get this. This is a pretty small little knife. Let's get my ruler out real quick here. We have a closed length of 3 7/8. We have an overall length of 6 7/8, and a blade length of just under 3 inches. But you still can get a full 4-finger grip on this thing. We have a drop point blade. We do have a hollow grind, which is pretty nice. It gets decently thin down at the edge, not incredibly thin. We're looking at G10 handle scales, a carbon fiber laminate, but it does look really good. We have a reversible deep carry pocket clip, and actually it's inset, and you can see they put a little plate on the side that you're not using, so you don't see a weird little cutout right there, which I appreciate. We only have one body screw, and then 2 pocket clip screws, and then the pivot. Speaking of the pivot, it's not just your average pivot. We've got some kind of cool milling pattern going on there. We have a backspacer, a little lanyard slot there. The flipper tab is small, and the action on this guy is really, really fun. Fun is the best word that I have for it. You kind of operate it almost just like a button, like you're pushing down on a button. Watch. It's really fun. Check it out again. You push down on the button and the blade just, bam, it just flies out. It's crazy. It makes a cool sound too. I really like messing around with this thing, man. It's not really fall shut, but you can get it with a couple shakes to fall down. This thing is really fun, man. Let's check our lockup. Very slight blade play. Lockup is about 50%, but this is an older knife, so yours will probably be earlier. This is a CIVIVI design. He does some designs for ZT and Kershaw and some other companies as well. The blade steel is 8CR13 MOV, so not the greatest steel, but again, you're not going to be doing a bunch of crazy hardcore cutting with this thing probably, so that should be just fine. This is the Kershaw Atmos, and it's under $30. I recommend it. Next up, we have the what is it? Oh yeah, Harns. Harns is the company. The knife is called Wind, and we're looking at a really slim profile, G10 handle scales. We have a blue anodized, that's probably aluminum, pivot collar there. We have the H for Harns there on the pivot, so that looks kind of cool. Just one body screw again. Pretty cool pocket clip. It reminds me of a pocket clip you would see on a writing pen, but it works very well in and out of the pocket easily. Deep carry. Not inset, but I didn't have any problems with it. We're perfectly centered. Pretty minimal flipper tab. Let's give it a flip. Now, one thing all these knives have in common is their detents are very snappy, which I really love. This one has kind of the same effect as the Kershaw. You're kind of just pushing that button, bam, flies out. Decent action on this one too. Shake it shut. Real nice slim blade. This one's a flat grind, but this one does get a little thinner behind the edge than the Kershaw does. This one gets very, very thin. Not the thinnest blade stock ever, but we have a really nice taper here down to the edge. Drop point blade, a little bit of jimping here. You can, it fills up your hand, not too badly. The blade steel on here is 14C28N, which is excellent. I love, love, love to see that. 14C28N is my favorite budget to even mid-range steel. It's really, really good. So that is the Harns Wind. Next up is a collaboration between CRKT and Ruger. This is the LCK. We got G10 handle scales, but they almost feel rubberized in a way, so they may not be G10. They got a pretty cool feeling to them. We have 3 screws back here. I'm not sure exactly why. I don't think that's needed. It could be for aesthetics. We have a pivot here with no Torx head on it. The Torx is on the back side. We have a deep carry pocket clip that works just fine. Flipper tab is protruding a little bit more than the previous 2 knives, but let's go ahead and flip it and you'll see why I really like this thing. Bam! Look at that pointy, thin blade. We have a hollow grind, thin behind the edge, very pointy, and one of my favorite things about it, you know me, we got a choke cut position, folks. Look at that. You can get right up to this edge and do all kinds of nice, fine detail work. Action is not very false shot on this one. Kind of have to just manually close it. But detent is perfect. This thing just flies out. Really cool blade shape. I really, this is probably one of my favorites out of these last 3. It just looks cool, man. It is a really cool blade shape. Piercing tasks. This thing is going to open packages like nobody's business. Lockup is rock solid. This is a cool one. The CRKT and Ruger LCK. Now these next 2 are a little bit more pricey, but they do fall into the same category as being small, slim. This is the CRRB urea. We have some really nice micarta. This is my favorite type of micarta. Really texturized, great color. We have a high polish on the liners and the blade and the pocket clip. Everything looks really, really nice. Thumb stud on only one side, but that is purposeful because if they had put it on the other side, they would have had to make a cutout on that side as well, and that would have looked kind of funky. And the lock bar is right there. So I see why they did it. They did it to slim down the knife, and it works. Your access to the liner lock is pretty tight though. Your access is pretty much just this cutout, but you can squeeze in there no problem and get it. It's not too much of a big deal. Pretty cool blade shape. Drop point blade, full flat grind, very thin behind the edge. This thing slices so well. Neutral handle, really comfortable. We're looking at CRRB's proprietary steel, AR RPM 9. I've had a great experience with that stuff so far. I've had it on a couple of different knives. This knife is around $50. Interesting how they did the lanyard hole. It's actually a standoff with a hole in it. I like to see that. That's kind of different. Deep carry pocket clip that's inset, not reversible, however. It's a pretty fun little knife. Detent's great. Blade flies out with very little pressure from your thumb. This is a cool one. I just realized we didn't even measure. We measured the first one, but we didn't measure any of the others. Let's see. Overall, 6 3/4. Blade length 2 7/8, and a closed length of 3 5/8. Let's measure the others real quick. The Harn's Wind, overall 7 inches. Blade length, little under 3. And then a closed length of just about 4 inches exactly. I like to see nice even numbers. That's great. CRKT LCK, overall 7.5. This is the longest of the bunch. Blade length 3 1/4, and a closed length of little over 4 inches. So let's move on to the last one. This is my favorite of the bunch, and this one's more expensive. This one's around 65, sometimes $70, but it's the CIVIVI Mckenna. This thing, this is the most fun I've had with a knife in quite a while. We have one means of deployment, the front flipper. There's a little triangular cutout here, but you can't access it for the thumb flick or reverse flick. So you're only going to be front flipping this thing, but this is the easiest knife I've ever front flipped. It takes very, very little effort to get the blade to come out. And my favorite way to open it, the only way I really open it, is that way. It's so easy just to reach around and just flick it open. They have the jimping wrapping around the top of the flipper tab here, so you get really good traction with your finger. You just barely have to set your finger on there and just barely pull it back, and it just pops right out. I love it. It's so fun to do this. Another cool thing is if you open it this way, your pointer finger is already out, so you can brace up against the tip and do your detail cutting, whatever you're doing. This is just a really, really fun knife. It's extremely, extremely thin at the edge, probably the thinnest of the bunch so far today. We have kind of was that be a sheep's foot or reverse tanto? Probably a sheep's foot. Interesting handle shape, but it's really comfortable. I can get a full grip on this thing. Tiny bit of jimping there, but doesn't really do much. But you don't need it. Deep carry puck, well, not exactly deep carry, but it's pretty close. It is reversible. This thing comes in different color options. There actually is a copper and Damascus one, which I really, really want so bad. Yeah, the CIVIVI Mckenna, this thing is absolutely incredible. It just slices so freaking well. It's so easy to deploy. It's just so much fun. Alright, let's get them all out here. All really great knives for small, light duty stuff. I recommend all of them. That's the video. Nice short one today. Thanks for watching, folks. Link to my Patreon below. Linked to Amazon links to all of these knives if they are on Amazon. If not, I'll link them elsewhere. And I'll see you in the next video. Adios.